Welcome to this video on how to import data with the Excel buffer. Hi, I'm Eric, and in this video we're going to import a Excel file. Actually, we're going to import Excel data using something known as the Excel buffer. And what is the Excel buffer? Let me show you. The Excel buffer is, well, if I ask you, hey, Eric, can you find the Excel buffer? I would say that's probably in the system application thingy, because that's where we got stuff like that. But if we go into the Excel, or sorry, the system application app, there's nothing with Excel in here. So this is one of the things that are still sitting in the base app, even though Excel buffer is not really an base app thing. That's more of a technical piece. So this one will probably in the near future go into the system application app. Anyway, so you can see we have Excel buffer. And what is Excel buffer? Well, Excel buffer is a table, and it's not a temporary table, but it should be. So yeah, always need to use it as temporary table. So probably in the future this will get the table type temporary. We can see that there is a field 1 is the row number, row ID, column number, and then we got some fancy validate. So when we validate the column number, we get into some fancy math to figure out what the column ID should be. So we have the column ID, cell text value, and so on. So what we have is, let me show you. I've come fully prepared. Here's an Excel sheet. So basically, each cell is a record in the Excel buffer. So let's try to read this Excel sheet. And what I'm going to do is, what I have done before we started was that I created a table. There's just 4 fields that matches those 4 columns we have here, and a page that will show them also. So let's get cooking. Well, we'll need the buffer record first. So let's create a record of the Excel buffer. Remember to mark it temporary. And to open a Excel sheet, we need a open function. So we have 2, we have 3. No, we have multiple actually. So we have open book for update, open book stream, open book Excel, open Excel with name. So let's do open Excel with name. And then we get a warning here. So actually an error saying that we cannot use this for extension development, but everything is extension development. But what they actually mean, if we do an F12, no, we're not allowed to do that. So let's see if we can do an next here. And then what was the function again? With name. With name, we can see that this is scoped only to be used. Oh, sorry, there it is. Scoped only to be used on-prem. So, and we could already kind of see that, because passing file name as a parameter means that how are we going to read a file name? We can't do that. So the function that we're interested in using is the open book stream, and this one will take an in-stream and sheet name, and sheet name is sheet 1, so that's easy. Sheet 1 and an in-stream. So how do we get our data in in-stream? So we need to create the in-stream variable. Well, we use the upload into stream function. So give me the Excel And actually we need a file name variable for that one. So this one takes a ton of parameters. No, but 5 parameters. 2 of them are not used. So you can see that the first parameter here is a dialog title. We're going to use that. From folder and from filter are not used. They worked in the Windows client. From file, that is a passed by a reference field, so it will return the field name, the file name of the fields, the file selected, and then the in-stream. And in-stream, if you haven't seen my videos on streams, you should totally go find them, subscribe to the channel first. So in this case, we give the upload into stream function, we give that a stream and ask that that stream gets connected to the data. So if this returns true, then we have the data in the stream. So now we already opened it, so that's pretty good. Next thing we need to do is ask the Excel buffer to read this sheet we asked. And what does that mean? Well, let's try. So let's do, after we read, let's total count here. So let's ask how many records are there now in this temporary table. So let's run this. And I need to log in. I hit the import, give me the Excel, and I find my file, total count 24. So let's look at that for a second. So we have 4 columns and there are 6 rows, that's 24, plus this guy, that's 25, but it tells me that's the only 24 records. And the reason for this, so each cell is a record, but a empty cell, so the way Excel is constructed is that an empty cell does not have a value. So there are currently in this spreadsheet 25 cells with a value because there's no value in this one. So clearly we have our data. That's pretty good. Let's get rid of that again. Then we need to figure out how to go about actually getting the data. So if I do buffer find last, and then let's make this easy, message format buffer. So you know the trick of if you put format on a record, you get a tab separated, all the fields with tab separation. Old nav used to be comma separated. Actually a trick I use in the search app, so if you want to see that, there's a video on that. So what we can see is that the last record we get is row 13, and column 7. So let's go look. 13, that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is 123.232, and that's the value we get. So each cell is just a record. So now we actually, what we did was use simple Business Central filter logic here, or actually no filter, but let's think about it. So now we need to read this. So suddenly we need a row counter, because now we want to read something. So we can do for row equal 9 to what? So we could offer do this and then we'll be done with it. That's okay, I guess. But maybe we could actually use a trick to figure out, instead of 13, then let's get 13. So if we do, instead of this one, let's do buffer set range column number. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So what if we set a filter on column 4, meaning that now we're actually selecting only these cells, but we're selecting them with a Business Central filter. Find last, and then we could do message format buffer again, just to reuse that old trick. Let's try this one again. Grab the data. 13, 4. And there's the E in it, so this is pretty good. Meaning that we get the last row. So by this we could say, let's create a variable for that. Last row, last row integer. So we could do last row equal buffer dot row number. Then let's clear buffer so we don't, actually not clear, let's reset buffer. So now we can do 9 till last row. So that's a bit nicer. We could also, do a search and find some of these. Again, navigating here now is just a matter of applying filters and working with the data as if it is a table, because now it is a table. Okay, so clearly we also need a record for the Excel template storage. That's something completely different. The Excel test, this table I just created for us here. So data.init, data.insert, and so the way I like to work with stuff like this, because now we need to get a record for each cell, for each field. But I would love to just be able to do get text buffer and this was column 4 and then the row, because that will look nice. Let me, not data equal, data.primary equal. That looks nice. And what I usually end up doing is creating functions like this. So before the video started, I looked in old projects and actually found these. So so here is get text, takes the Excel buffer as a parameter. By reference, that's very important, especially when you're working with temporary, because if you suddenly don't do by reference, then you end up having 2 separate tables with temporaries, and that can be very confusing. So in this case, pass a column and a row, and then we do a get into the buffer of that one and return the value. I have 2 more functions here, a get date. Same exact principle, but then now we're going to evaluate the cell to become a date, and get decimal, we're going to evaluate the cell to become a decimal. So let's try that. So we need to create let's call it X. How about that? That sounds pretty cool. Excel tools, that's my code unit. So I can do X dot get, then I'll do data dot what we call it, text data equal x dot get text buffer dot, this was column 5 and same row, and data dot date data equal x dot get date buffer, column 6 row, and data decimal data, I think was the last one, get x, x dot get decimal buffer 7 row. It's pretty nice. So I like the aesthetic of this one. So it's very easy to see that, okay, now we're in it, we're creating a record, we're inserting it, and I should validate, but there's no, this table is empty of anything like that, so I'm just assigning directly. Because you should do valuation, validate the correct way. There's also a video on that. If you haven't seen that, because you forgot to subscribe. So subscribe now, and you can go check out the validate video afterwards. It's pretty good. So let's run this. Let's run this. This is exciting. Let's see if it works. I hit import. I select the data. Working on it. Bam, we got data, A, B, C, D. We even got the blank. So one interesting thing here is that, let me go back to the Excel tool. Remember that only if there is data, you'll actually get a value, get a record in the buffer. So in case with the missing one, that row 12 does not have a value in column E. Well, if you notice, this get text function actually encapsulate the get in an if. So, and the way AL works is that if there's a return value on a function and you don't exit anything, it will just exit a default value. In case of a string, it's empty. In case of a number, it's 0. In case of a date, it's 0 date, and so on. So since the get is not finding anything for E12, it will just return empty, blank, which results in us getting all the data. The dates looks fine and numbers looks fine, because that's my local regional setting I have here. If what you can do, if you want to get into a more resilient use of evaluate, you have the secret third parameter where you can say comma 9, then it will always evaluate through ISO 8601. We can try to do that now. So what I want to do is do a data dot delete all. So we empty before we import. So we can try it. This should give the exact same result, because dates are formatted. Well, let's see. Maybe not. See how it goes. This may break horribly. Yeah. Now the debugger is coming up and saying, hey, we can't do that because now it's not ISO. So in this case, it's actually getting formatted the way, by the way of my region. So I need to do a proper evaluate. So let's cancel this one, remove the 9s. A couple of other functions that I copied into this this Excel tool code unit kind of mimics some of the code that you saw on we briefly scrolled through. The fact that what this code is really lacking is that this one says 4, 5, 6, 7, because columns are not numbered in Excel. They are by letters. So if we were to improve this, we would certainly want to say that this is D. So we will start by D9 and E and F and G. So let's change this up just a bit. So let's change this to D, E, F, and G. So we need to go into the Excel tool and then this one. So now the column is a text. So this will break because we can. The primary key is no longer like this. So we need to. So let's change this to call text, and then create a variable called call. Or perhaps we don't need that. Let's just do it straight away. So get column number from the call text. Well, that actually just to be let's this be. There we go. So we can do this in all three functions. We need an extra parenthesis there, and we need go away tooltip. We need one there. We need to change this to text, and we need to change this to text. So what this function get column number does, let's look at this. Get column number. We give it a text, and then it goes from the right to the left. So the least significant to the most significant column letters. And then it tries to do a it looks at it if the character is actually a letter. I guess that was just me playing it safe. And then it takes the so everything is 26. So we need to turn that factor into we start by 1 and saying, okay, can we make this just the last part of it? Again, that's a bad explanation, but it goes through the letters and say, okay, this is an A, that will turn into 1, and then if we have one more, then it's a by a factor of 26. So that's AA is column 27, and so on. So each time we go one left, we increase the factor by 26. That's probably a better explanation of this. Anyway, let's try it. And the reason, so there's still data here. I'm deleting, the data is deleted now, right? So let's read the data again, see if this works or not. And we got the data in. So looking at this, I find this very, very readable. For row equal 9, so we could probably figure out where the start row is if we want to, but for row equal 9 until there's no more data, and D column and this row E column F, so this D9, E9, F9, F, and so on. For me, this is very readable and very easy to get data from an Excel sheet. So there you have it. That's how I quite often, when I'm not using BCCL, that's a whole other discussion. That's how I use the Excel buffer to read data into Business Central. Be aware that since this is a temporary table with one record per cell, that if you're reading very, very big spreadsheets, it's a memory hog and performance is not that great, because for each cell you have to get a record. So there's a lot of traffic on that table, but it's very versatile and I use it a lot. So Let me know in the comments below how you use the Excel bot. What do you do with it? I would love to know. And until next time, have a wonderful day.